Hello, everybody, and welcome to Todd and Shane's Cloudy Podcast, episode 411, recorded live Wednesday, November 21st, 2018. Hi, Shane.
Hi, Todd. I missed you last week.
I know you were off doing something less exciting and less important, and I had to bring in a backup. And I think overall, Mark was well received. I think everybody enjoyed Mark. He brought a certain flair. He's got much better hair than you do, and that was not lost on the live audience.
I just got a haircut like half an hour ago to make sure that I was as pretty as Mark. So I just
Yeah, and
wanted
I
to throw
and
that
I
out
didn't
there.
I didn't want to throw you under the bus, but I was telling the people, like on Twitter and in Slack that we were going to be an hour late, and I didn't say why. Yes, folks, it's because Shane's vanity kept us from being on time. He had to go get a haircut.
I mean, and my kids. All right, I don't know about you, but my kids are out of school today, and it has pretty much destroyed my life, and makes everything hectic and chaotic.
My kids, well, so my youngest one only. Long story short, he never has school on Wednesdays, but the older two they get out at 2:05.
So you got 3 hours of mostly peacefulness.
But I have somebody that watches them, and you don't, so I got that.
I know. Well, and some days we do, but so we have a high school person who watches them now, but her mom decided that her family stuff was more important today than her job. I'm like, way to teach your life lessons there, Mom.
Yep.
So she's
So
not
ours did
working.
not. So we've got that. Plus, I've got two older girls, and you've got boys. So there's less chance of things being set on fire or heads being pushed through walls, things like that.
There it is.
It's a little different. So as we've been continuing the trend, you missed last week. Last week was episode 410, and the HTTP code for 410 hysterically was gone. Which
Well
is
played.
great because you were gone. And this week's HTTP code 411 is length required. And I believe I will leave it at that.
Yep. That one just can't. We can't do nothing with that
Yep.
one.
So for show notes and all that, production things, we got to reach out to the folks at SysKit. I talked a little bit about it last week, but you weren't here. Obviously, I do some work with SysKit. I'm going to be out there next week in their offices in Zagreb. I'm pretty excited about that. But I was talking about one of their tools, one of their newer tools, the SysKit Security Manager, and how it was scratching a particular itch that a customer had. And it's a great way to find permissions in Office 365 and look what permissions somebody has, what things are being shared. They're really working on that tool because that's one of the things that admins have a tough time wrapping their heads around in Office 365. And I talked to them a little bit about it, and I showed it to one of my customers, and the customer gave me some feedback and said, this is great, but I wish it did this, this, and this. And I sent it back to the folks in Zagreb, and like 2 days later, they already had a demo of some of the things that I'd added or I talked about. So good stuff. So if you are an Office 365 administrator and you're struggling with things like who is member of groups and what permissions do people have and where is inheritance broken, go to syskit.com and check out the SysKit Security Manager.
Those guys they're just crushing it, right? I mean, I know they're sponsors, so I have to say nice things.
You have to say that. Yeah, it's in our contract. Yeah.
Well, it's only in your contract, so really I can say mean things about them. I keep forgetting that. And
Yeah.
they say nice things, so they must actually be pretty cool. So
Yeah. And I'm going out there, and I got my schedule for what I'm doing, and it's they're going to regret this. They're going to regret this hard. But really, what they want to spend most of the time there is listening to me talk about what I'm seeing in the field. They want to hear what real people are doing and what I'm experiencing.
yes, they're going to regret that. I'll go ahead. It's like when the Powerhouse product team brought me out, man. There was like 20 people in the room. They're like, "Tell us about how you build apps." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah. You're not going to like this.
You're going to cry. You're going to die a little on the inside. So let's answer questions instead of me just open-endedly showing you what I would do. So
Yeah. So one of the blocks of time that they had set up, well, and I guess it's going to be like the whole company. Like they're just going to shut the offices down. Everybody's going to come talk to me. And one of the blocks of time was like getting to know Todd and a couple of other things. And I'm like, you only gave 2 hours for that, and I'm really just getting into getting to know me. We may need more time to talk about the other stuff. I just, yeah, I feel bad for him already.
me too. I mean, tell them, I know the proper combination of pills and beverages to help after they do it. So if they need professional advice how to get over it, I've got more experience than anyone other than your lovely wife.
Any self-medicating that may be required. Yeah. So but yeah, they are very responsive, and they really, they want to write good tools, and they, like any software company, we complain about Microsoft a lot about this. They have this vision of what they think happens, but the real world does not always fall in line with that. But the folks at SysKit really, they've been hitting it. And so one of the things that I suggested to them, and I'm going to spit this out, I probably should keep it to myself, but when I was talking to this customer, the questions that they were asking, I kind of figured out that what they really wanted, what they really needed, was a way to get a report of all the stuff that's going to break when an employee leaves. That's really what they want. And because it was all these little things, they're like, well, this person was sharing some files out of their OneDrive that ended up being like mission critical files. And so as soon as their OneDrive got deleted, all this broke, and we didn't know where it was at because nobody knows the URLs. They just clicked the thing. And she's like, it'd be great if we had a tool where we could find all the stuff in the OneDrives that were shared. Great, security manager does this. And then she's like, well, we got this flow that's going to break, with this person, and this flow broke. If there's only a way we could find where all the flows, and I'm like, so what you want a tool that you can run and say, we're firing Shane tomorrow. What's all the things that are going to break when Shane's account gets deactivated? She's like, yeah, that's what we need. So.
Man, and I don't want to give you credit, so I'm going to give the customer credit for coming up with the idea, but I think this is a perfect, and I think that's even how you package it and market it, right? Is the what happens when you fire Bobby tool. Yeah,
and so I went back because I had this came out in stages, and when it finally clicked to me that that's what they wanted, I sent that to the SysKit folks. I'm like, here's the thing, and here are the places that I think will break. Things like, are there any site collections where they're the only owner? Are there any groups where they're the only owner? What flows do they own? What Power Apps do they own? Things in the OneDrive they're shared. And I had one other one, I can't remember what it was. But, and I think the security manager has a bunch of those things, not all of them, like the flow and the Power App stuff, but they need it in one spot. They need to grab it all and just say, here's
Yep. Type in Todd and
data. Yeah. Though there it would say you can't fire him. But for anybody else, yeah. Bobby, for sure, Bobby.
Yeah, those poor folks. There must be something in the water in Zobgrob if that's
In the chat room, Mark is mentioning that he's been thinking about making a generic account that owns flows and Power Apps. And I see that's a pretty common approach that a lot of companies are doing that for this exact reason.
Yeah. And there's some other creative ideas that if you go with that approach, you create a service account that you just create all your Power Apps and your flows with. There's some licensing ramifications of that.
For instance, you have to pay for it.
You do, but maybe you can make that work to your advantage, not your disadvantage.
Well, you should talk to Mark because that was one of the things that that's what his comment was. He doesn't want to drop the cash for the license. So if you need to speak to him offline, I get it.
Saying it's probably one of those ideas that I'm not supposed to publicly articulate.
I got you. And one of them that I need to delve into a little more is, and you and I talked about this offline, it's not enough to know who owns the flow, but there's connection information inside of the flow. And I don't know. So I've been using the flow and Power Apps APIs through PowerShell, which we'll talk about later, to get some of that stuff. But I don't know of any way to crack that open and see where those connections are. But I think maybe just having that, I guess the thing is, if we're going to fire you and the flow shows up as one that you own, chances are it's going to be your connection. Now, if you use a service account thing, then it's not going to catch the connection piece. But
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The connectors inside of Flow and Power Apps is probably, well, more specifically inside of Flow, is probably where it gets real hard.
Yeah, but we're working on it. So I've got the guys in Zagreb looking at it from the API side. I've been doing it from the PowerShell side, just trying to figure out what all those pieces are. But yeah, it's been good stuff. Then we can talk about that PowerShell stuff later. So we're getting to, so tomorrow here in the U.S. is Thanksgiving. And so Shane and I were thinking that, tomorrow's Black Friday. And so, or not tomorrow, Friday's Black Friday, all the ridiculous sales. And we were thinking we had some advice for folks. If you're going to go out on Black Friday and do all the crazy shopping with all the deals and get up at 4 o'clock and all those kind of things, one thing that we ask, there's going to be some horrible people out there. There's going to be some people acting like animals. And our request to you is when you record those people with your phone, do it horizontally. Don't make the vertical videos. Do the horizontal ones so they show up good on the news and on YouTube and all of that. That's really my request.
And really make sure you kind of, you're framing it well, right? So we don't want too much sky, but you need a little hint of the sky.
You need a little context. Yeah. You need to see the big, So
And
yeah.
if you're centering them well, but if you know that the person's about to punch him's coming from the left, you know, if we can kind of pan early instead of
Yeah.
panning after.
Yeah, use your non-camera eye to kind of get a feel. Yeah, so do that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
and
my request. Now Shane, his idea was that we should go over some of the things we bought this year, so that when you go out for Black Friday, you have some idea what to get.
yeah, I mean it's a good technology show, and I know that a lot of you on the show are probably like, you know, myself and Todd getting requests from the grandmas and the moms and the wives, you know, what do you want for Christmas? And we always answer the same. I don't want anything. I get everything I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? They won't take any of that. So
Nope.
I thought we'd talk about some of the tech toys. So at least you can tell them something you want. Then they're going to say it costs too much. You're not getting it. But at least you've provided feedback back to them.
But then it's on them. Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, and Todd and I, we've been known to buy things. I mean, Todd buys a tablet about once an hour. But I don't think
I'm
we're
fixing to
cover
buy
those
one in about
tablets.
7 minutes. So if we could hurry this up, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about writing you a flow for that. Yeah, I mean, might as well at least save you some time.
The
But I
hunt
don't know.
is part of the fun, though. It's
Is that what it is? Is that really what it is? You discover these tablets, you're like, man, that one is 17 cents cheaper than the last website. I've got to have it now. Is that what happens?
yeah, and I'm not really comfortable telling you how many tablets are within that I can make eye contact with right now. So
The fact that you refer to making eye contact with your tablets is a
they
little
have
awkward
feelings
as well.
too, Shane.
That's a different conversation. All right, so I don't know. Let's jump in here and look at some of the things we've kind of purchased and talked through them. Just a good little technology overview.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's start with the Ring doorbell. I know that's the one you're kind of the most interested in. Of the one
I
we've done.
am. Yeah, yeah.
So I purchased a Ring. I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months ago. Installation was super easy, which was always a plus. You know, really, you just get it on your wireless network, and you're done.
Yeah.
It's got a cute little app that you run from your phone, and the app is nice. Because you can kind of control. It gives you a lot of the functionality that you'd expect, which I'm guessing the early adopters didn't get. Right, so I can say, hey, I don't want to get notifications, from 10 p.m. until 8 a.m. Right, if people are going to ding dong door ditch me in the middle of the night, well, it's not going to do anything.
Right.
So you can kind of control that type of stuff. But then you can, you get that great benefit of you can turn on the motion detection. So then that way it always records anytime it sees motion, it records the clip.
I like that.
I used that the other day to confirm that UPS had not indeed dropped off the package at my house that they said they had dropped off. I was like, here's the time block of my Ring. It says nothing happened.
Those guys have to hate all that technology. No, I rang the doorbell. Funny thing about that, my camera and I disagree with your assertion. Yes.
I have this picture and it does not show you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been pretty neat. Overall, it's been low maintenance and it's really kind of just integrated into our lives. And I don't even think about it anymore. I just can answer the doorbell with my phone and it's just normal now.
So you have the one that is battery operated, correct?
Yes.
And how often have you had to change the batteries?
I've charged the batteries once in the 4 or 5 months I've had it.
Interesting.
So I think that they say the battery on average last about 3 months. A lot of it is based on the amount of motion traffic that you get.
So I've got a street outside of my house, and you don't. You live at the end of a dead end. So
the motion range is only about 30 feet. So, right, your front yard's bigger than 30 feet. So in theory, it should not be getting motion from the street in front of the house.
Yeah. Hopefully the sidewalk.
Yeah.
A lot of people with dogs. So one question I had about the Ring, and this is something I could have looked and just didn't. Are there any non-doorbell cameras that integrate with Ring?
Any non-doorbell cameras?
So, for instance, I have a camera mounted up inside my garage so I can see if my garage door's open.
You're very concerned about that garage door. You got like 7 different things about that garage door.
And I've never had anything stolen out of my garage, so I think I'm just saying.
Nothing to do with the low crime area that you live in, right?
It's belt and suspenders, Shane. Belt and suspenders.
Yes, so the Ring definitely does have standalone cameras. So they've got 2 different types. They've got a standalone, motion detection camera that is just the camera, and they also have a floodlight cam. So one that will do the whole light up your yard, so when it detects motion, start recording. And I believe that both of them, I don't have either, but I believe both of them also allow you to 2-way talk, right? So you can hear but you can also, yell from your camera, "Get off my lawn!"
Yeah. Pick up that dog poop. I see you.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's my next purchase, right? I want to put one kind of into my driveway because I can't see that whole half of my house from the inside.
Yeah.
So that was another thing as I kind of looked into, what would the family devices work, because the little one can also be battery operated, so I don't have to worry about running electricity to where I wanted it or anything. I just have to make sure that it will get on the wireless internet or wireless network.
Yeah, and for my car, I had to put a wireless access point out in my garage. So
you've already got one out there. Perfect.
Yep.
But yeah, so the Ring, it's been good. And when you first get it, you turn on everything, right? Notify me every time, the wind blows outside.
Yep.
And now I've got it all turned off, so I don't get any of the motion detection alerts. They still get recorded, but they don't ping me when they happen.
Yeah.
We also bought the package that has a little mini doorbell, so you can plug that in. So when someone presses the Ring, there's an audible ring in the house as well.
Yeah, and that would be part of what I need because I can't hear the doorbell where I'm at.
Yeah. So we got that.
Which Ring do you have? There's a couple of different doorbell ones.
I have the Doorbell 2.
Doorbell 2. Okay.
Yes, there's a Ring doorbell. There's a Ring doorbell 2, and there's a Ring Pro.
Okay.
Yeah, and Brody wanted to make sure that when you were talking about the motion detection, so the way the little tool works is you kind of can say, all right, here's what you see, so you can pick what zones you want to activate motion alerts, but then you can also, kind of basically say how far out you want to reach.
Yeah. That's good. Thanks, Brody.
But yeah, and I bought also a little thing. So instead of pointing mine straight out the front door, I kind of angled it so it could look down my sidewalk or my walkway.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say if you've been contemplating a Ring, I think it's a good purchase. I'm a fan.
Good. All right. Yeah, I've been wondering about that because a couple of my other cameras have pooped out, so I was looking at getting replacements. You also updated some access points. Let's tell everybody about that.
Yeah, so that was all Todd's hard work, right? But kind of you can barely see it over here. One of them's right here. I went ahead and off of your recommendation put in the Ubiquity access points, and I did the LR, the long range models.
All right.
So I did 2 of those, and I did a lot of research. Man, that's probably not fair. I did a fair amount of research.
A lot for you. It was like 7-8 minutes. Yeah, it was.
Oh, a tremendous amount for me. Yes. Normal people standards will call it average research. But and I kind of was looking around. Like I looked at the Google Mesh. I looked at the Orbi. Right, they have a mesh kind of network.
Yep.
And one of the things I'd done some stuff a few years ago with the wireless backhauls. Right, so. Yeah. Those devices have to be within the range of the master device, and they kind of echo out.
Yep.
And I was just never happy with those. The latency that introduced was just never something.
Yeah, you had a bad time with that. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the big things I went with Ubiquity stuff was the the wired backhaul, right? Because I have Ethernet ran pretty much everywhere in the house, so I was able to wire both of the access points in, and then kind of cover the house that way. They work. I don't have any craziness about them.
Good.
They're better than what I had before.
Good.
The only feedback I think I would have for those people if they were, the one thing I don't like is the controller software. Right? They need a controller master software. So it's JavaScript. So I had to put Java on my computer. But some Java software that runs on your local PC or a server somewhere in your network.
Yep.
And you can only access and control them when the controller software is up. So I thought, they work when the controller software is not available, but you can't interact with them when the controller software is not available.
Yep.
So the other day, I couldn't remember where I'd made the wireless password. It's just hop in and get it. Nope. I had to come down here, fire up my PC, fire up the controller software, wait on it to come online, turn off the firewall on my PC, and then I could connect to it, and then I could figure out that the password was, Shane is beautiful. So that's been the only downside to those for me.
Yeah. So for that, everything that Shane said is true. They make a piece of hardware, the Cloud Key or whatever, that will replace that PC software. So you could buy for $70 or $80 or something, the thing you just plug into your network, and it is that piece of software. And I've thought about doing that. But yes, the important thing is they work fine without that. The piece of software that Shane was talking about is only needed for installation and configuration. Other than that, it just all works fine.
Yeah. And it's neat software when it's up and running, right? So like you can get in there, you can see the clients, how much bandwidth they've used. You can kind of do some testing. I think it can also do like scanning for other devices that are interfering, so it can kind of help itself figure out the right channel. So their software is really cool. It just annoys the what out of me that I have to do it that way.
Have you gone in there and cranked up the power on them?
No, I have not tried to tune them at all.
Yep. There's basically, here's what's legal, and then there's this other one that we won't talk about. And another one of my things in there is you can do the bandwidth steering. So they do both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. 2.4 gigahertz has bigger range. 5 gigahertz has a bigger pipe. So you can say, prefer 5 over 2.4 or the other way around, or let the device handle. There's just a bunch of little things that are fiddly in there that you can play with.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I struggle with is my main device, for doing wireless stuff, because my PC is wired, is it's my phone, my dear little iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the way, Apple, on purpose, accidentally,
who's to say?
My phone has a really hard time with like high-speed wireless anything.
Really?
So like I can take, Nicola's phone, which is an 8, mine's a 7. Or mine's a 7 plus and hers an 8 plus, I think. Anyway, hers is one generation older. Put them side by side, put them on the same wireless network, and run the same speed test tool. And I mean, I might get half of what she gets.
Really?
It really grinds my gears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good family-friendly way to say that, yeah.
Yeah, and so like the other night, I was watching the end of your football game.
Let's not speak of that.
Okay. But I was watching that in bed. And, so at that point, I'm 20 feet away from the access point. My poor phone's like buffering and stuff. I'm like, for the love of God. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it is definitely shenanigans something, right? So, sorry. So I say all that to say I have not got into over tuning them, because where I would benefit from the most can't even do half of what it should be able to do. So why would I tune the access point?
Well, so for things like when you start putting stuff in your garage, you might be able to increase the, when your next update comes for your car or something like that. Oh, I should put that as something I bought this year.
Yeah, it should. I did get the car moved to that network, and it still barely reaches. The Tesla, for those of you that are considering them, one of the downsides is its Wi-Fi radio is terrible. It gets, so it just made fun of my poor iPhone. The car gets half the bars that my phone gets. I mean, so, short of like doing like Todd did, right? I need to go put an access point like right next to the bumper, I think.
I think I could touch the access point and the car at the same time, maybe.
I think that's what you really have to do to make it work. But if I ever put the camera that I want, it's on the further out. So then at that point, I'd have to wire a access point into the garage.
Yeah, and for the garage, I don't have Ethernet in my garage, and my house wiring is horrible. But I got one of those crappy Ethernet over power line adapters, and that's what my access point in my garage is. It's horrible, it's crappy, but it's way more than my security camera out there needs and my car needs. So if you were going to do something like that, those adapters are cheap, way cheaper than running Ethernet. But I would make sure that for that one, you would want to dial it down, because you wouldn't want any other device in your house to accidentally get on that access point.
Yeah. So I think when I do it, I'm going to, because I can come out of so one of the main, junction points of the Ethernet is right there on the other side of the wall that I'm pointing at, that really only Todd can see.
That's, yep.
But,
and I know what your basement looks like.
And so, but then the garage is kind of shares that wall, but just up. So it's real easy to run an Ethernet cable into the garage, and then I'll just put one of the ubiquities out there, and so then that way that side of my yard and stuff would have more wireless, because who doesn't need wireless out in the yard better?
I'm with you, brother. So that's good. I'm glad that recommendation paid off.
Yeah, you get bonus points for that one. So speaking of recommendations, I know since I bought a Tesla before you, I feel like I recommended the Tesla to you.
That is so demonstrably untrue. I've been lusting after Teslas for 4 years.
But that
And you
was
didn't
your
even
big,
want one. You got one against your will. You fought it, kicking and screaming.
my life is hard.
Gosh.
What? So you want to talk about those? I mean, that's probably your biggest technology purchase this year.
Yeah, when I was looking over the list, I didn't really have much to add other than the Tesla. So yeah, I got so Shane got his model. You got yours last year, right? So it doesn't
September,
meet the list this
August
year.
of yeah.
Yeah, so I got mine June. I got mine the week before or the day before 2 days before Father's Day in June, and it's been great. And there's just been a new update that came out here a couple of weeks ago that added some new functionality that I got to try for the first time last weekend. The Navigate on Autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool. So the car itself, I was just a Tesla nerd and junkie before it came out, so there was not a lot of surprises when I got it. I mean, I've got friends that have them and all that, but it has been all that I thought it would be. It's been a lot of fun to drive, and again, it just keeps getting updates. Like my car does things now that it didn't do 5 months ago when I bought it. It's got more functionality now than it did, and it's pretty cool. Have you used the Navigate on Autopilot yet?
Mm-hmm.
It,
Yeah, I mean, it just works.
Yeah, so for those of you that aren't Tesla junkies like Shane and I, the Tesla has navigation like every car that comes out these days does. But then that kind of integrates a little bit with the autopilot stuff, which is a separate system, but it's the thing, it's like the next evolution of cruise control. So it handles your speed, keeps you from running into things in front of you that are slower than you. But again, 2 months ago or whatever, before this update came out, it would also keep you in the lane. It's the autopilot stuff you always hear about, it self-driving. It looks at the sides of the road, it knows where the cars are or where the lanes are, and it will do that. If you wanted to change lanes with it before, you could hit the turn signal and it would look behind it and it would change lanes for you. It's done all that stuff for a while. The thing that they added here a couple of weeks ago, this Navigate on Autopilot, was a couple of things. So one of them was it will tell you on the navigation when you need to change lanes for an exit ramp, which is super handy if you're not familiar with the area. So if you're in the right lane and your exit coming up is on the left, before it would tell you, you have to turn on the left, but now there'll actually be a line on your screen that will tell you and it will alert you and it will ask you, do you want to change lanes? And if you hit the turn signal, it will just get you to where you need to go and take the exit for you, which is pretty slick. I like that. And one thing that I did, which is probably not responsible of me, but I was in that situation, I needed to get to the right and there was a car to the right of me and it said, do you want to go right? And I looked on the screen and it could see the car. I'm like, absolutely. And I hit the turn signal and it actually slowed down and pulled into behind the car that was on my right and took the exit for me. So that was pretty slick. And the other thing that it will do that they added was if you come up on somebody that's going slower than you and you've got all that stuff turned on, it will ask you if it can change lanes. And then you hit the thing and it will pass the car that's going slowly around you.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. And it definitely, it's one of those features that like you get in there and you realize in reality it's not practically doing a whole bunch of, it's not fundamentally changing your life. But what really I liked about it the most was I saw it as the evolution towards getting us to the point where the car just drives itself all the time for me, right? It was a giant leap that way that has no real, like, if you look at it at a micro scale, it doesn't do anything for me today. But it's taking us, 5 steps further into the future.
Yeah, they're baby stepping it toward it. You can see how all the pieces are going to line up. It's it's fun. And so one of the things that I've talked about, I don't know if there's any other Tesla owners that listen to this, but there's a website, a service called Teslafy that goes out and pulls the things from your car. And I am just loving that. So it will go through and it'll tell me exactly how much every drive costs me. I can get monthly reports on how much electricity I bought, how many miles I got for it, how efficient my drives are, because the cold weather really impacts your battery strength. So I can see that. I took this drive, I had 67% efficiency, but that's because I had the heater on full blast and the seat warmers on and all that.
Steering wheel warmer.
Oh, so nice. So I really like that.
Yeah. No, good. So next up on the list we had was I purchased a curved monitor.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that someone talked me into it. I was like, all right, I got to have one of those. And I got to the store and it was the 34-inch, and I'm not gonna get the prices exactly right, but basically a 34-inch was like $600 and a 38-inch was $900. So I cheaped out and bought the 34-inch. In hindsight, I wish I'd bought the bigger one. So I'm kind of a little sad about my purchase, sad from the standpoint that I didn't buy the biggest one possible, because I've kind of gotten used to, I don't know if it's because we're getting older and I need more screen, but I've gotten used to having this giant monitor in front of me when I'm building like an app or a flow or something, and just having all the screen real estate in the world to be able to build and design and do. I don't know. I've gotten pretty spoiled by this monitor.
Yep. And what size did you get, and one size did you wish you gotten?
So I got the 34 inch. So I got the Dell body 34 inch ultra wide, that thing. And I wish I had gotten the Dell 38 inch ultra wide body thing.
Okay. Because I have not gone down that road. I've got 2 monitors now, and I really like that. I like the partitioning of where I can set windows. But the big problem is, I have them set up, and the bezels are right smack dab in the center where my focus is. So I got to figure out,
which way you want to look.
Yep. And so that, I think the big monitor, and these monitors are, like 5 years old, something like that.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things here, is if you're looking at them, is the right resolution matters. Because somebody asked me the other day, well, why wouldn't I just buy like this 42 inch that's, 1920 by 1080, that's, a third of the price? Because my resolution is 3440 by 1440, right? And that's really where what you're after is the giant, the more pixels.
Yep. Yeah, and that's one problem. My laptop, which has a 15-inch screen, has better resolution than my 23-inch monitors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. That's another purchase I've been considering.
Yeah. So the downsides of it, for me personally, is I screen share probably half my day every day.
Yeah.
And so I can't share my whole desktop anymore because most people can't take that resolution. So now I have to share windows and kind of size things. So that has been a negative for me.
Well, and just you don't want every IM that you get popping up for people to read and things like that.
Well, I mean, I prefer to share my whole desktop.
Right. Well, so I normally share a monitor. So like all the pop-ups and stuff come up on monitor 1, I will share monitor 2.
Right, but I can't share my monitor period anymore.
That's what I'm saying. When you go to the one screen, you lose that ability to just share a monitor and have whatever apps you want that person to see without them being able to see all your pop-ups.
Oh, but I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't care if they could see my pop-ups. It's just that it's too big. Yeah. They can't physically see it because their little tiny screen can't, it squinches mine down.
Yeah.
So I follow where you're at, but I never even cared if people saw my IMs and my pop-ups. I just didn't want them. I need them to be able to read
the text, yeah.
But so I think I'm going to probably reincorporate a second monitor because for sharing my screen, unfortunately. So back to your whole point of, that's really a big driver. And to that end, I bought one last week to teach that training class. That's where I was last week. I was teaching that Power Apps and Flow class. I went to Best Buy. I went into a store. I know this is crazy.
Felt dirty.
I got a 27 inch, I think, a 27-inch monitor for $119, and it's nice. I like $119. I want to buy like 3 of them and just have them laying around here. Who doesn't need an extra monitor from time to time?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the curved monitor. It's the working is a little different, but if you find yourself thinking, man, I wish I had more screen real estate to work with, Power Apps, Flow, SharePoint, whatever you're working with.
PowerShell.
Yeah, PowerShell would be pretty awesome, right? Make it the giant.
Good ideas. All right. And the last thing was just cord cutting, which is something that most of us, or at least the 2 of us, have done.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I mean, I've gotten a whole nother rash. This seems to be the time of year that a lot of people start to focus on TV again, and everyone's like, why do I not cut the cord? So I've gotten a lot of those questions lately. I don't know if I have anything new here. I'm still a big fan of the Roku devices that I bought years ago or a year ago. The channels have changed like 7 times, which is part of the game. We've talked about that a couple times. So the good news is I've gotten all the channels, right? So I bought that Tableau so I could do over-the-air antenna. I have not plugged that thing in like 6 months because now PlayStation View has all the channels that are local as well. So why would I need an antenna? So that's been a big change. But no, I don't know if I have anything new here. I just think it's a good field. You?
Yeah, well, and I think it's kind of been refinement. Things have shuffled down. When I first cut the cord, I wasn't sure which hardware platform I wanted to commit myself to, so I bought a Roku and an Amazon Fire for every TV that we were doing that with. And like you, I just use Rokus now. The Amazon Fire was okay. I went with the cheap ones, and so they were a little slow, which again, that was my fault, not theirs. So I bought a nice one or a bigger one. And what I found was the Amazon, it's just too busy promoting Amazon stuff. Like to get to the thing that I want to do, to wade through all the Amazon stuff was just more work than I wanted to go to, and more work than I had to go through with the Roku. And the Roku's interface is so much simpler. Like I could put that down in front of my mom or my dad or my in-laws or something, they could figure it out. The Amazon Fire is just a little, and I don't want my kids to accidentally buy something, so I've got to put that all in place on the Fires. And so yeah, I just mostly use Roku's at this point.
Yeah, and I think on the Roku bandwagon, if you're looking at them and you're thinking, man, I don't know if I want that more expensive one. The ones that have the remote locator button, that is worth the whole price, right? I've got kids that do things with remotes. I just walk over to the device, I press this button, and the remote just starts making this sonar ping, and I'm like, sweet, there it is. So
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about that one feature. Todd pointed out all the actual functionality features that are good, but that ping is way more valuable than you can ever imagine.
Yeah, and so I agree with all that, and I think that's the same one that has the TV power button on the remote.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that because I've got two different Rokus. One has the fancy remote that Shane's talking about, one doesn't. And the one that doesn't, the only time I ever have to touch my TV remote is to shut it off. And so with the other one, with the fancy remote that Shane was talking about, it does all those other things, but it's got a TV power button at the top. So when we're done, just hit that and it shuts everything off. So I'm a big fan of those. Yeah.
Yeah. And I in the beginning I played with so the other nice thing about the remote is it has a headphone jack. So if you're watching TV in bed type of thing and you want to be able to hear it, but your wife or husband is sleeping beside you, so you can pop in some headphones. That worked out really well too. I don't ever actually use that feature, but I tested it out enough to be like, thumbs up.
Yeah, we don't have a TV in our bedroom right now, so our use case for that's pretty limited.
We have one. I've not turned it on in over a year.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would. It just has not happened.
See, I was never a TV in bed watcher. I never had one forever. And then Nicola was a turn on the TV to go to sleep every single night of her life. So when we got married, we became, watching TV. But we've gotten out of it, and so I'm very cautious of not reopening this Pandora's box of a TV needing to be on to go to sleep, because I can't sleep with a TV on.
Yeah, I don't know that I would use it at night much, but there's times when if the kids are watching something on the big TV and I just want to relax, and I would use it, but it's not what.
I tell my kids to go find a different TV. I want to watch the big TV.
Oh, I do. Yeah, yes, but I am not the only authority figure in this house. So when mom says you can watch a movie on that TV, I can't come back and say, no, go scram. Yeah.
So there we go. We found a flaw in the wife's armor, because that's weak sauce.
If I were king of the world, or even just king of this house, or even just king of that room in this house, nobody under the age of majority would be able to turn on that TV or watch their own programming on it. But that's
did your kids ever get into Fortnite, or is that still not made it to Iowa?
It's made it to Iowa. My kids just don't play a lot of games. Again, I've got girls, not boys, so it's less likely. But no, some of their friends play it.
Yeah, because even girls around here play. It's weird. But anyway, Fortnite videos on the big TV, right? Because now they can do the YouTube through the Roku. Is just a giant thumbs down. As soon as I hear that, it's like, get the what out of here.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, so that brings me up another thing. So another piece of hardware that I use, I've got Chromecasts on all of my TVs, and I use those pretty frequently. And that's shooting stuff from the phone over there. A YouTube video is the main thing, or podcast or something like that. I use the Chromecasts quite a bit. So that's a cheap little fun one.
We've been like 40 minutes at this.
Yep. So I wanted to power through some stuff, and I don't think so. Shane's been busy. I don't think he's had a chance to look at it much. Last week, Mark and I talked about what our favorite IDE for PowerShell is, and just like 10 minutes after that, Mike Robbins posted something about what his discussions are. So I just wanted to post that out there. He's got some things to consider about that Mark and I didn't talk about.
Did anyone choose my favorite IDE, which is just the good old PowerShell console host?
I mentioned that's normally what I do, and then if I want to get fancy, I fire up the ISE. But you and I have been doing PowerShell since before the tools were good, and we just got set in our ways. Yeah. And I legitimately, so on this main PC, I've got two main computering windows, and then a window that I have videos and stuff on. I routinely have at least one PowerShell console prompt open on every monitor, maybe more, because that's just where I do most of my stuff. So.
Like it.
Yep, and then I got into all my PowerShell stuff. So part of the thing I was talking about earlier about the what happens when we fire Bobby process, I went out and grabbed the latest update to the Power Apps and Flow PowerShell modules. Still every bit as weak and masking tape and baling wire strung together as they were in April when they came out, but they've added some functionality that I needed, so I went ahead and downloaded those. If you're an administrator and you need to get a hold of Power Apps and Flow, they're probably a good thing to add to your armor, but just know that the installation was designed by drunken monkeys and it's just horrible. But once you get it installed, it works.
Yeah, well, one thing to keep in mind, though, that's back to the whole licensing conversation. So I believe most of the Power Apps and Flow administration require the more advanced licenses.
So I've only ever done it as a tenant admin or global admin.
Well, so global admin, tenant admin don't matter in regard to so whether you have a Power Apps P1 or P2 license.
Gotcha.
So I'm guessing what you've done. I'm guessing you probably have a P2 trial. You didn't even realize it.
Or I haven't done any of the things I've done. I've done a couple of very specific things that may not need that.
Yeah. So just something to watch out for as you dig into those. I should cover that better, but I just haven't had time to dig into the nooks and crannies. I just know there's nooks and crannies.
Yeah. And then I promised the last PowerShell bit that I'll talk about is I was troubleshooting some stuff on my network. Something wasn't working. It was a cord cutting thing. One of my Plex servers was acting up, and I wanted to make sure that it was listening. So back in the old days, we'd use netstat, specifically netstat-ANO to see what process IDs had what ports open and all that. And I was getting ready to do that, and I'm like, man, this feels dirty. Like, I don't want to do this. And plus, I want to slice and dice this data. I think everything in PowerShell now. So I'm like, I want all of the connections, and I want to get the process ID of Plex, whatever it is, and then I want to filter on this, and I only want those ports, and then I want to sort them in this order, and you can't do that with netstat. So I went out and I would just put a blog post out in the show notes for how to use PowerShell like you would use netstat, and basically it's the get net TCP connection that gives you your objects, then you can sort and filter and whereas and for each and all that. So
very cool.
That was a good one.
Yeah, you just reminded me of old NetCat, right? Remember?
I remember
NetCat was kind of like one of my first. You felt kind of shady using it, but exploring the ports and searching your network and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Probably only a minute for maybe one more. Those list the ones that we've got there at the end. What do you think is your favorite?
Well, I want to hear about what to wear to work when you work at home.
So this is just something that just came across Twitter probably 30 minutes before we went live. It's a Wall Street Journal article called "What to Wear to Work When You Work at Home," and it's essentially the tricks that people have to basically the premise is when you're working from home now, video conferencing and all that is much more ubiquitous than it used to be, and so your appearance matters. And so just tips and tricks that people have used to not have to get fancy and dressed up when they work from home, but to appear presentable. So there was some fun things in that article.
Well, that's right, because that's a near and dear topic for to my heart. Because you ever since you've worked from home, to this day, 10 years, yeah. You get up, you shower, you put on pants, and you get dressed to go work in your office every day, and it explodes my brain to this very day that you really do this. So I've been working at home for 10 years now, and I have never a single day when my butt has hit this chair have I not been dressed in a way that I could have been dressed as walking into my last job every day. Never have not faltered yet. Just blows my mind. See? Pants. I know. And me, I can't, I wear sweatpants. The good sweatpants. I have to wear, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I have to wear sweatpants, and sitting down here in the basement this time of year, I wear some big warm wool socks. I got a big old heavy sweatshirt on. It's cold down here, and I dress for comfort and warmth, and I could not imagine putting on jeans and sitting here for 8 hours. Yep. One of my favorite quotes from the article was, "Vanished are the days when working from home meant being invisible." But yeah, so a lot of folks work from home, so I thought there was some good tips in there. Yeah, well, that's a good one. I'm going to read it. I won't take any other advice, but I'll read it. You'll laugh at them. I did, back to sweatpants. So I know one of everyone's favorite topics is, Shane and his good sweatpants. Mm-hmm. So this week we were at Kohl's buying the kids very expensive shoes because that's what you should buy, a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so we walked through the sweatpants for me section, and I bought 2 new pairs. And so I wish I could show you these.
Boy,
These
I wish you could. Yeah, that would be great.
Are like, I don't want to call them skinny jean sweatpants, but they're kind of skinny. They are very proper form fitting. And so apparently I look like stylish now in my good sweatpants.
I'm judging you. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm judging you.
You should be. But yeah, so the wife bought me nicer sweatpants because I wear them 7 days a week. And then I got another pair that I think I haven't put. I'll probably wear them tomorrow, so I'll find out for sure. But I think they're kind of like joggers. You know what kids wear these days, right? They're like tapered at the bottom. They don't go all the way down to the floor like these do.
Oh, and for those of you who didn't catch the beginning, Shane's talking about wearing his new sweatpants. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, like a holiday, like people are going to come over, and Shane's like thinking about breaking out the new sweatpants tomorrow.
I mean, yeah, we're hosting like 20-something people here. I'm absolutely wearing sweatpants. I don't.
So if
don't
it was like the Joey Tribbiani, the stretchy pants for Thanksgiving, that I would understand. I could forgive that.
I don't think you appreciate the fact that other than like we went out to like a fancy dinner, I don't remember the last time I didn't wear sweatpants. I wear sweatpants every day. I've kind of reached that point in my IT career.
You are sad. Sad stuff. All right. So let's do a little bit of promoting. You've got the Flow conference coming up.
Yeah, Wednesday, December 12th. So what that is going to be, 8 or 10 or something pre-recorded Flow videos. So there'll be half-hour videos done by Flow experts all over the world. And so we have to pre-record those, and then they'll just kind of play them sequentially, and people will be there to answer. But I think the registration's up over a couple thousand people already. So
wow.
It should be pretty crazy. The video's due in 1 hour and 56 minutes. I haven't started yet, so I'm not going to lie. I'm going to turn it in late.
Yep.
But they sent out the thing and said it was due by 12 Pacific today. Mm-hmm. And I took that to mean midnight. So that's my goal is currently to get it by midnight. But yeah, so that should be fun, interesting. Hopefully the content, I think it'll be a nice mix of both beginning Flow stuff and some really super nerdy stuff. So I don't remember who all the speakers were, but I know the people that were set to speak, and there should be some good quality nerd stuff there.
Yep. So being a military guy, I have to tell you that while there are 2 12 o'clocks in the day, the first one is at the beginning of the day. The second one passed for you an hour ago. So there are no more 12 o'clock Pacifics.
I completely understand
okay.
that it is 11:59 p.m. and at 12 midnight, that is tomorrow.
That is okay. All right.
I understand it. But I'm going to feign ignorance in order to.
And you will do it very believably. People will be like, "Oh yeah, I can totally believe he."
Shane doesn't know how to tell time, right? Time zones, right? He might mean he wants it next week. It's hard to tell.
It's funny. So that's good. So myself, man, my next couple of weeks are crazy. I'm going to be gone. So I think next week we're going to have to do the podcast early, or I won't be around or whatever. Doing some traveling next week. And then the week after that, I'm going to be in Slovenia, beautiful and lovely Ljubljana, Slovenia, for the Thrive conference. I'm doing an all-day class on Monday. I'm doing a couple classes during the week, and then going to Zagreb to talk to the SysKit folks. So if you haven't already done that, sign up at thriveconf.com, and hopefully I will see you in Ljubljana. That would be great.
So that means you're not coming to my Christmas party?
No. I got a better, as odd as this one, I had a better opportunity. So yeah, I got a better.
I mean, it's only a 12-hour commute. You could have done it.
Yeah.
All right. Then we got SP TechCon Austin, February 10th through the 13th. So that should be fun, right? We're going to do some Power Apps, some Flow, some PowerShell, some SharePoint.
Doing it all.
Be all over that place.
Yeah. And Austin, great town. Lots of fun. Can't wait to get back there.
So that's that. Then March, talk about, you're busy the next few weeks. My March is ridiculous. I'm not talking about it, so you can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think I have a similar March to yours. I don't know that I've got all the same things, but you and I have the North American Collaboration Summit in Branson. Yes. That's on the 14th and 15th, and I think it's collabsummit.org is the website to sign up for that.
Sounds right.
And then you and I will have the MVP summit, which is not a public thing, but that's and do you have anything else that public stuff or?
I think I'm doing the other thing. I don't have all the details yet. I think I'm doing the other thing that you wanted me to do.
Good. That'd be very very exciting. Okay.
And then there's some other stuff that we can't announce yet, but yeah, it's gonna be a little rough.
All right. And then in May is the big SharePoint conference, SharePoint Conference NA.
Yeah, we've already, so they've already asked us to do a post-con or a pre-con session, right? So we are on the hook for that, and which hopefully means we'll get some follow-on sessions to do during the week as well.
Yeah.
So that should be fun because SharePoint conference is always fun.
Always great, like the high school reunion, but only the people you want to see when you go there. So, all right, man. Well, you have got a flow video to make, so I'm gonna let you go. It is a noon time for me. I've got some Thanksgiving pre-gaming to do. I need to go stuff myself.
At Skyline, I'd recommend it.
I can't. Well, the nearest Skyline's 10 hours away, so
Chick-fil-A. Go get yourself some Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. That's closer. Yeah. So. Well, thanks everybody, and thanks out in the chat room. And yeah, next week we might be a little early or something. We got to figure that out. I got flights and stuff. But thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.